Hello everyone, Kristina Werner here with another video for assignmentsstamp.com. Right off the bat here, I have to apologize for my scratchy voice. I've got a little bit of a head cold, but making this card was a bright spot in my day, even though I have a cold, and I wanted to share it with you. I'm going to be creating a one-layer card, essentially, but I will be adding a popped-up greeting in the end. But I'm going to be stamping and ink blending and doing all of my card design directly on my card front. This is a folded piece of white cardstock from Neenah. This is solar white and it's 110 pounds. I've got 3 acrylic blocks here, and I'm going to put each one of the sliced lemon images on the blocks. There's a 4th lemon image, but it's the full lemon, and I really like the details of the slices of lemons, so those are the ones I'll be using today. Because I am working right on my card base, I put a little bit of tape inside, just rolled up to keep it closed while I work. And then I prepped my work area. I just have a torn off piece of Simon grid paper, and I'm going to be doing my stamping and ink blending directly right off the edge, so I wanted to protect my work surface. I also have a piece of Simon Says Stamp masking paper that I'll have off to the side while I do all of my stamping. Now, the idea behind my card is I'm going to have all of these lemon images nestled up against each other, stamped over this entire card. And then I'm going to mask off each image and then do ink blending over the top. Now, because I'm going to have a mask for every single image that I stamp, I thought it would just make sense to go ahead and stamp the masks at the same time. So as I stamp each lemon on the front of this card, I'm then going to stamp it a second time on the masking paper. This is just going to make sure that I have enough masks for every single image that I have on my card front. It's kind of a little bit of a method to my madness here, and it works out really, really great. Now, like I said, I'm going to be ink blending over these masks, and so it's actually the area around the lemons that will have color. If you want to have even more color shown on your card, you could spread out the lemon images so they're not quite so close together, and that would give you more of that color on your card design. For me, today, I wanted these lemons all nestled up close to each other. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out all of these masks. Now, when I cut out images like this, what helps me is to cut them down into smaller segments. I don't like having a whole bunch of paper flopping around everywhere. It's a little bit more cumbersome, so I like to cut it down into smaller sections that are easier to handle. And as I cut out each one of these masks, I'm going to go ahead and apply it directly onto my card front. So as I finish this very first mask and I go around those edges, getting as close as I can to the black lines, I'm going to go ahead and peel off the release paper off of the back of the mask and apply it directly to the card base. And I'll just start it up there at that very first one that I stamped, or I think it's the second or third that I stamped, but I'll align it right over that stamped image, and then that area is protected by the masking paper. And I did this for every single one of these images. If you wanted to, you could cut out all the masks all at the same time and then apply them at the same time, but I found it a little bit more I could keep track of where each one was covered already if I did this one at a time. Because if you notice, this white masking paper on white cardstock, it blends in. You can hardly tell where the mask is and where there isn't a mask. So I wanted to just make sure that I had all of these applied just right. I'm going to apply this last one here. I've actually edited out a bunch of that so you didn't have to watch me cut them all out. And now we're going to go to the ink blending. I'm using 3 colors of ink from Simon. I'm using Ocean, Lime Malicious, and Lemonade. Happy is Lemonade. It only seemed appropriate for this card, right? So I want the lemonade color at the bottom of the card. So I rotated it 180 degrees and then started blending from that edge. So I noticed as I was blending down that I wanted to keep it all the way down to the center so there's plenty of that yellow to work with. And then I'm going to switch to Lime Malicious and blend through the center of the card as well. The blending brushes I'm using today are from Simon, and you can buy them individually separately, or you can buy them as a set, or you can buy them in the Big Mama set where you get these larger brushes and the smaller brushes all together. So I'm moving on to the color Ocean, and I'm going to blend that from the top. So I noticed that actually, as I brought this ocean color down, I probably could have skipped that Limelicious color in the center, because as I bring this teal color down, it blends with the yellow and I get a really nice green shade. So if you don't have a green ink, go ahead and just blend your yellow into the blue and you'll get a nice overlap and it will create that green color. So now I'm going to start peeling up all these masks, and I'm not going to speed up the video footage or cut away or edit it down, because I think peeling off masks is like opening presents on Christmas morning. It's so satisfying to watch these masks peel up and see that pristine white cardstock underneath. These masks actually, like the masking paper, handled all of the inking really, really well. And so I figured I could probably use these masks a couple more times. So I'm going to save them by putting them on the back of my stamp set. And that just keeps them nice and flat so that I can use them again another time. I had so many masks from this card that I don't think I'll need to do any more masks for these images, unless I do another card exactly like this and I use them all again. So I peeled up every single one of these masks, and it reveals the black and white images down below. I think it's so dramatic and so pretty. So after I had all of these masks peeled up, I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of a shadow around each one of these lemons. And if you don't want to do it with the method that I did, which is using a marker, you could actually leave the masks on and then do a little bit of gray blending out from the edges of each one of these lemons. I think that would be a really great way to add a little bit of dimension and shadow to the lemons. But I didn't think about that until after I'd peeled them off. So I am using a marker. This is the N65 color from Tombow. It's one of their dual end pens. And I'm just adding a little bit of a shadow to the right and bottom of each one of these images. Like I said, this is kind of optional. You don't have to do this. I think it just gives it a more graphic look. And I think it looks really, really nice. So after I added all those shadows, I'm going to move on to creating the greeting for my card. So I'm using a piece of black cardstock. This is Hero Art's Pitch Black cardstock. And I'm going to do heat embossing on it. So I'm going to prep it with an anti-static powder tool. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the greeting from the stamp set. And I will be stamping it in VersaMark ink because I am doing that heat embossing. So the embossing powder that I'm using today is actually Alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. It's a great white embossing powder. And by using that anti-static powder tool before I stamp, it gives me a really nice, clean image. None of the powder sticks to areas where I don't want it. And that's exactly what you want with successful heat embossing powder. So I'll tap off the excess of that heat embossing powder and then use my heat tool to melt the powder. Once that's completely melted, I decided to cut out my greeting, and I wanted to have it be kind of like a little margin around the greeting. So I took a pencil and I drew a guide so that when I go to cut this out with my scissors, I have an area exactly where I want it. Some people can cut this out and kind of eyeball it and, get it a little bit close to the edge, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I wanted to make sure that I had the perfect amount of margin around those words. And also because I'm a perfectionist, I came in later with an eraser and erased any of those pencil lines that might be remaining after cutting out my greeting. I put some foam squares from scrapbook adhesives on the back of my greeting, and then I used some tweezers to hold the greeting kind of hovering over my card until it was in the right spot, and then press that down. The last thing I did to finish off this card was add a little bit of sparkle and bling by putting some sequins on there. I glued down some sequins from Derice. This is their crystal color, and the sizes of these are 5mm and 8mm. So that's the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Just a reminder that everything I've used today is linked down below in the video description. It's available over at Simus's Stamp, and you can get this stamp set, the You Shine stamp set, inside the card kit for July 2022, or you can buy the stamp set separately. It's completely up to you. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in another video very soon.